What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 31 of Nintendo Noise, Flip Screen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Chewy Huerta.
Bye, goodbye.
Hello, goodbye, listeners. Welcome back to another week on Nintendo Noise. We've got a really fun episode for you here, of course, because Mario Kart has some brand new DLC for the first time in years. Mario Kart is back in the conversation, and we have some thoughts. We have a potential leak looking at what some of the next courses might be. So we're going to pull that out and speculate wildly, as well as make some of our own picks for courses that we hope will come later on. But it's also a very special birthday today. One of your favorite handhelds and mine, the Game Boy Advance, turns 21 years old today. And boy, every time we hit one of these anniversaries now, I feel my bones turning to dust, you know? The fact that the Game Boy Advance is old enough to drink, it makes me feel some kind of way. I'm not going to lie to you. But we're going to celebrate the console that was the follow-up to the Game Boy today. We're going to talk about some of our favorite Game Boy Advance memories. And, of course, as you can come to expect on this show, we're doing a ranking. So we each have our personal top five favorite games on the Game Boy Advance of all time, which will then be ranking into a definitive top 10 list from Nintendo Noise. So you're going to want to stick around for all of that. And a bunch of you wrote in with your memories as well. So it's going to be a jam-packed episode. And I'm looking forward to it. But before we get into that, let me remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of March. They are, of course, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Mary Berry, Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and we appreciate your support of this fine program. But that is not the only way you can show your support. There's a bunch of ways you can find us all over the web. And, of course, the easiest way to find links to all of those places is to head over to our website, flipscreen.games, where you can find links to where you can write into the show, questions at flipscreen.games. You can find links to our Twitch channel, where we're live every Wednesday and Thursday. And now pretty much like every day, at some point, Steve is going live. He's going live all the time. We had a whole podcast unscheduled today on Twitch where Steve was unboxing old Game Boy Advance games. It's a great time over there on that Twitch channel. So you're going to want to go give us a follow so that you know when we go live. Even if it's not at one of the scheduled times, we should be live at some point for you. So go check it out. And, of course, there's a bunch of other ways that you can come and interact with us, show your support. However you choose to do so, we appreciate you being here and being a part of what we're doing here at Flip Screen Games. So come check it out. Be a part of what we're doing. So let's jump into the Mario Kart of it all, right? Of course, Mario Kart 8's just the first new cup. It's two. It's two. You're right. Yeah. Dropped just this past week. We've all gotten a chance to play it. We've got 8 new courses in Mario Kart 8 for the first time since the DLC came to Wii U in 2014? Insane to think that the game got new content all this time later, right? So I want to just talk about our thoughts and impressions on it overall. Steve, why don't you come off the bench? What are your thoughts on the 2 new cups? How are you feeling about, having new Mario Kart content, being a big Mario Kart fan? Do you feel like this is kind of putting Mario Kart back on your radar in a meaningful way? How are you feeling about it right now?
I had a really good time with these. I've played through both of them, and do you know what? They feel even fresher to me than I thought they would, because I've not really played many of the Mario Kart Tour tracks. Like, I think the first initial batch they put out, and then I never really went back. And so I don't know those courses like the back of my hand, like I know some of the others that are in the game. Like Coconut Mall, for example. It was like coming home to an old friend. It was really delightful just to like get around that course. I knew exactly where the shortcuts were and what to do. Same with Choco Mountain. But the new courses, they're really different because they all seem to like diverge into like two different sections, or at least like the
Sometimes
Paris one, I
even
think
more.
the Tokyo one does. Yeah, and depending on which route you go, and I ended up accidentally going different routes in different times that I played them. You can really see different parts of the course, different things happen, different events. It's really, really cool. And yeah, the courses look very different. It kind of feels like you're playing two different games, especially considering the way you switch between them. Like you click the right bumper, it brings up like a whole different menu rather than it being on one screen. It's like a whole separate screen of like, look, this is basically a whole other game you've got here with all of these different 48 tracks that you're going to get eventually, and across the, I guess, 12 the 12 different cups that we're going to get. And it was really, really cool. So I've had a really good time with them. I don't know that this is going to go back into permanent rotation for me just on the regular. I'm looking forward to streaming some of it with people on Twitch, but there's just so much going on at the moment. I mean, we've got Kirby on the horizon. It's coming out tomorrow if you're listening to this when it comes out, and I feel like that's going to be swallowing up the majority of my time.
Pun intended.
However, I am visiting family this weekend, and like I could like quite easily see myself dipping in and trying out the new courses. And I think it levels out the playing field again, because the problem was whenever I played with friends or family in Mario Kart, because I've played these for like hundreds of hours at this point, no one ever wanted to play with me because it was just like, oh, you know exactly what you're doing. You're going to win. What's the point? It's boring. And so unless I was playing online with people, or I was playing with people on Twitch or whatever, no one wanted to play these games with me, which was always a big disappointment. So I'm glad that there's some new courses to kind of level things out a little bit.
How about you, Chewy?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a ton of fun with them so far. I like the mix that we've got. On the other hand, like, I did play quite a bit of Mario Kart Tour, so some of these are ones that I spent a lot of time with on there. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I kind of like the setup for how Mario Kart Tour handles the courses. It's a little bit different in that, whereas, like, you know, all the races are 2 laps in that game. But as you like continue, the course will return, but you'll get like a remixed version of it. And I do like how they mixed it into the tour tracks here, where it's like all 3 laps have like a little variation of what's going on. But I don't know. I think Tour really just like committed to making the race feel completely new. And I think one way they could have kind of approached it is like changing it between the speeds, you know, like really messing with the courses depending on like what speed you're on, be it, you know, 100cc, 150cc, 200, and what have you. But I don't know, it's a small thing. Overall, I do like the changes, but I think they also could have gone further and applied those changes to some of the other retro tracks that they brought back, because I know, I imagine one of the tracks that's going to come back in the future, it's one of my wish list tracks, but Calamari Desert, for example, they did what my childhood me always dreamt of them doing, which was create a route that goes through that and goes through like where the train goes, the tunnel and everything. Like they set it up so you could actually do that at points in that track. And I'm just like, we're probably just gonna get the base N64 Calamari Desert, where you just gotta avoid the train or whatever. But it was really cool to see how they handled that in Tour, and I'm kind of sad they weren't given like the liberty to change those other retro tracks a little bit more, and could only do the Tour tracks like that. But really, I mean, it's a lot of new tracks. Just looking at the list, like, because, you know, like you were saying, you toggle between them and you can see all of the new cups. And I keep scrolling through hoping that, like, the tracks would just magically pop up and let me play them because it's just so enticing, you know? They're sitting right there. Nintendo knows I want them right now.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that when I did actually boot it up, and like seeing that they were showing off what all of the cups are without telling us what the tracks are yet, which is, it's interesting. It's interesting to think that like they already have it all figured out and like road mapped out, and it's just
Oh yeah,
You know,
especially when you consider some of the data mine stuff that's come out as well. Like, there was a mod put out that someone cracked it. Someone on Twitter called Fish Guy 6564 managed to put a mod on his I guess hacked Nintendo Switch that seemingly reveals which console all of the tracks in all of the different cups come from. So whether it's from like Nintendo GameCube, or if it's from the Wii, or if it's from Mario Kart Tour. So that's really got the cogs working in the rumor mills of like, oh, I wonder, like trying to map out exactly which tracks are going to come to which cup based on like what the cup is, based on like which console it came from, and things like that, which is always good fun.
Yeah, it was really funny. I was streaming it like everybody else was, and I was showing them all the tracks and stuff, and just like straight faced, I think it's the Turnip Cup, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the one where they're gonna add all the Animal Crossing levels, and then just like scrolled right through and kept, and then I saw the chat going like, what? They're adding Animal Crossing levels, and I was like, no, they're not. Sorry,
I was just kidding.
Didn't need to put that out there. Totally just joking.
So sorry. Yeah, so I also have played all of the cups so far. I really really enjoyed them. I think like I appreciated how many of them are ones I've not experienced, because I never played Tour, I never played Mario Kart DS, and I've never played, I forget what it's called, but the one on the GBA. So the Lucky Cat Cup
Super
is
Circuit.
literally all brand new courses to me.
Wow, okay.
Which is awesome. And
So the only one you knew was Coconut Mall?
Well,
on Choco Mountain.
On Golden Dash, there's Choco Mountain and Coconut Mall, and then Toad Circuit. I kind of know. Like, I played a little bit of Mario Kart 7. I wasn't like big into it, but like my cousin, I have a cousin who's in her like 40s, and she has 2 kids that are now teenagers, and so I'm like kind of like an uncle figure to them. And her son had Mario Kart 7 and like loved it. And I remember for like years when we would do family parties, you could do the share play with that. So I've played a decent amount of Mario Kart 7. So I'm like, I know Toad Circuit, right? But it's not one that I'm like intimately familiar with.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, if you count that, 6 out of 8 are like basically totally new content for me, which is super cool.
Yeah, honestly, Toad Circuit is like a good example of what I was talking about with Tour, because I remember playing this one in Tour quite a bit, and the later versions of it were just so much more interesting, with like more ramps, more directions to go, and this one just feels so standard, kind of like first 2 cup Mario Kart tracks.
Yeah.
You know how they go.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And I feel like that's like the circuit ones are always like that, right? Like there's like the Mario circuit, the Luigi circuit, and those are both like very basic tracks. It's similar in that way. But it's funny, Chewy, you beat me to it, the hot take. Like, I thought the Tour courses are really cool. Like, spoiler alert, one of the things we were I said we're going to talk about is like, what are the tracks that we want to come to the game? And after playing, I had actually made a list of like old tracks that I wanted, but now I'm like, I actually just want all of the Mario Kart Tour tracks that are based on cities. I just want all of those. Like, that's my number one wish list. Like, there's one called New York Minute, there's London Loop, Vancouver Velocity, Los Angeles Laps, and Berlin Byways. Like, if we're only picking 5, like those are my 5. I want those.
I think those are all coming based on the data mine. It looks like it. It looks like there's some other ones though. The data mine also found like names of courses that are seemingly coming. So Sydney Sprint, LA Laps, New York Minute are all confirmed seemingly from Tour.
Yes.
And we got Cooper Cape, Maple Treeway from the Wii, Mario Circuit from the SNES, Vanilla Lake from the SNES, and Rainbow Road from the 3DS. I did not need another Rainbow Road. Like, this is already Rainbow Road the game.
Yeah, but you gotta have it. You gotta have it at this point, right? Like, if you're doing the DLC and you're like, there's another Rainbow Road, like, let's get it in there. Come on, just think about it, right? There's freaking, 12 new cups? It's a lot of courses they gotta fill out. Yeah, get the third Rainbow Road in there. Why not? What I
Put
really
every Rainbow Road in, every single one.
what I really want them to do now, though, like I feel like now that I'm messing around with this, is my number one request would be to let me make my own cups.
Yeah, it would
I
be
want to
cool
mix
to
and
be able to
match
just
courses.
save it and mix and match. Yeah,
That would be so cool.
I've always thought that I get. Can you not do that? You can do the thing where you pick. I guess you can, but it doesn't save it as a cup, right? You can pick courses and just do it piecemeal, and
Yeah.
like just have like races. But
yeah. You
it's
can
not
just
the
go like
same.
race by race, I think. But yeah.
You want the peak cup that has
Yeah.
like the best of them. In,
And
yeah.
like, you know, if they were going to be really cool about it, like they let you do like the I don't know if either of you have seen any of the stuff that's been coming out about the new WWE 2K game, but like you can like put in logos yourself. So like if we wanted to like make ourselves and make like a
have,
flip
like, the
screen.
flip screen cup. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
like
would
you
be
could do
awesome.
that, right? And like it would be really cool if they would let me do that. Like I would love to just be like, oh, like let's pick, you know, like our 4 favorite courses and like, you know, upload that to like the list, you know, and I don't know, like have like a Mario Maker kind of thing where everybody can like make their own custom cups. You know, that would be fun. But I really was into this more than I thought I would be. Like I love Mario Kart 8. I think Mario Kart 8's the best Mario Kart. I like Mario Kart quite a bit. But it's not. I'm not like frothing at the mouth for the next one either right now. Like I'm kind of like, yeah, like I've had my fill of that, and you know, a new one will be cool, but whatever.
That's because I think we had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe not that long ago on the grand scheme of things compared to, but if you play, and I guess similar to me, you didn't really play Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U.
I played it with other people. Like I had a friend that had it, but I didn't have it myself.
Yeah. Whereas like, I guess people like Chewy had it. It's been like what 14
Forever.
years, so ridiculous
so
since we've had
long.
like another one. Like prior to that, it's just such a long time to go at this point.
Yeah.
Because I guess the previous console version before that was Mario Kart Wii.
Yeah,
It's been a
'cause
long
7 was
time
on the
since we had like
3DS.
another home console version of Mario Kart. And
I mean,
to
this game's
finally
almost
have
10 years old,
new tracks,
right?
Yeah.
Like that's the crazy
Yeah.
thing. But anyway,
Yeah, and
just to finish the point, the reason I said that is like I do feel like this breathes new life into it in a way I'm kind of surprised by. Like I am eager to like get a stream going and like challenge each other and see like who among us is the best, and it's probably Chewy, and you know I feel like that is something that I haven't wanted to do in a while. You know, I haven't felt motivated to be like, yeah, let's stream Mario
Yeah, I mean,
Kart.
but there's been other stuff, right? It's been like, oh, let's play Mario Party instead.
Yeah.
Or let's, you know, do a Splatoon thing. There's always something else that we could play, which I think is why we never went and bothered with Mario Kart again.
But I dig that this makes me feel like, oh yeah, like at least every time a new set of these comes out, there'll be a moment where Mario Kart's back on the map, even just for a little bit, and that's I'm more excited about that than I thought I would be. So, Chew, you were trying to get up there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Totally forgot it.
I apologize.
No problem.
I was going to ask. I've seen a lot of complaints about it, and it's from the same people that compare trees in video games about the visual styles of these.
Yeah.
And they are clearly quite different from the original base game from like what 2013, something like that at this point, versus the new tracks. And like, yeah, maybe there is some like change in visual fidelity or whatever. But I just don't feel like all of the courses looked the same in the original batch anyway. Like even the DLC courses looked different in that batch. It had a different visual style and visual aesthetic from course to course to course. Like, and I don't really care because when I'm blitzing around those tracks super, super fast and I'm having a good time with it, why do I care if the grass has a little bit more texture in that map than this one?
Yeah, when like this news first came out, I remember we reacted to it, and I think that was kind of like the general consensus was like, yeah, I mean, whatever, like, yeah, like they'll look different, but you probably won't notice. You're only ever playing them in a cup, right? So if each cup has cohesiveness, then like, how much are you going to notice that unless you are like taking screenshots and comparing them?
Or making your own cups.
Sure. But even that, right? Like, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't care. Like, I don't feel like it
Yeah.
matters. Like, every cup is, or every track is very different and has a different style. And, they're all like pulling from games that range from games that were on handhelds to 16-bit systems to modern tech. And like, of course they're all going to have a different style to some degree. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of expected, for me anyway, when it comes to Mario Kart and the style of Mario Kart, right? At least with this, where this game feels like it's like a greatest hits, as well as a lot of new stuff. When I was playing it, I was looking at it with that in mind to be like, oh, am I noticing these differences? Is this something that's sticking out to me? And like, it didn't, and it doesn't. I don't think it matters. And I mean, like, not to say that, like, I don't know. Like, if you care about it, I guess that's valid. But like, I feel like it's much to do about nothing. Like, to me, like, I'm just happy to have good new content and like fun dynamic courses, and I feel like all these levels are fun and different, and I really enjoyed getting through both cups.
Yeah, I think overall I'd take it as a sign of like, okay, the other team is working on whatever the next new Mario Kart is. And so, when they have assets that they could reuse that have already been redone, like, yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do to make it pretty quickly, right? Put it out there. So.
They're working on the next Diddy Kong Racing, right? That's what they're doing.
I hope so. I need that.
Why would you say that, Steve? You're just hurting people. You're just out here hurting people's feelings now.
And I wish they'd make that.
But yeah, so I wanted to talk about, like, I guess the courses we have right now. Of the new ones, what is your favorite? And then what are the courses you'd like to see moving forward? I already threw out my 5. Like I said, I just want all the Mario Kart Tour City stuff. That's really...
I guess, yeah, I guess I'm the same. Like, I have all the courses I loved the most. Coconut Mall was the one. Remember when it was announced? Yep. I was like, I want Coconut Mall, and it was the first one out of the gate. So I basically got what I wanted at this point, and I love that one. And I would say the Paris of the tour ones has been my favorite. I love that one. It's really good fun. You just see like the Eiffel Tower and you blitz around the roundabouts
so cool.
and stuff.
It's so different really cool. Too, right? Because like every Mario Kart level has always been in Mario location, so having something in the real world is like it feels novel, Yeah,
in the same way that going around Hyrule Castle and around like the Animal Crossing forest and town was novel at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
An Excite Bike.
Excite Bike.
I really like the Tokyo Blur and the Ninja Hideaway too. Like,
Ninja Hideaway is really cool. Yeah,
the fact that has like 3 different ways you can go through it. Like, I don't know if it's
confusing.
It's really confusing. It's a hard course, but I really liked it.
Yeah, I think I'll have to learn the Ninja Hideaway one a lot more, because there's just like so many different things going on in that one. And I remember just being like, wait, I'm in first place. Why is there a banana ahead of me on lap 1? Oh, the Shy Guys dropped that? Weird. Okay. Yeah, for me, I'd say my favorites are definitely like Paris Promenade tops it for me. I think that one's just awesome course. I love how it varies and everything. Coconut Mall also up there. And then yeah, Tokyo Blur. Like those 3 super take it for me. But I've also always been a fan of like other cars in Mario Kart. So Shroom Ridge is
I
really
like that one a
fun
lot
to me.
too, yeah.
It's like I know a lot of people complain about like the blind turns and the chaos and everything, but I'm like that to me is like the great equalizer in Mario Kart.
I couldn't play that on 200cc though. That it's impossible. I don't know how anyone plays that course on 200cc. For me, Mario Kart is like should max out at 150. That feels like the baseline speed that it was designed.
Yeah, I think so too.
To be played at, and like 200 just takes it too far. Like there's no way you can react in time. I don't think.
You just have to like memorize the course.
Yeah. I guess that's part of it.
You have to play it really differently. You have to use the brakes. That's unheard of.
Which I never do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a button I never press.
On
Yeah.
one or
And
two
then
of these courses, I did use it because there's like really sharp turns, and if you're you know carving like the way you normally do, like there's a couple where you might just go right into a wall if you don't pump the brakes a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, and then the other one I liked, it really brought me back to this game because it's been a long time. I'm sure we'll talk about, well, maybe we'll talk about it, but Sky Garden, I think that's like the GBA one. I remember spending a lot of time on the GBA Mario Kart. I think it was Super Circuit. And yeah, that one is just like a really nice update to if you ever just go back to the GBA, you're like, oh yeah, this looked a lot different than it does now in Mario Kart 8. So yeah. Yeah, that one brought me back. I felt nostalgic for that game.
Very nice. So, in terms of any other wish list courses, Steve, I know you said you got all yours. Do you have any that you want to throw out, Chewy?
Oh yeah. I probably wrote too many, so I'll go pretty quickly. Luckily, some of these are already in tour too. Maple Treeway definitely tops the list. That one's in tour and probably already confirmed to come. Daisy Hills is a fun one that I've also revisited in tour, as well as Shy Guy Bazaar. Those are both from Mario Kart 7. Peach Gardens on the DS. That one's always a delight. And then Dino Dino Jungle in Double
I had
Dash.
that on my
That
list
one's
as well.
yeah, that one's wild. I love that course. And then the rest are N64 ones. I mentioned Calamari Desert. In past episodes, I've mentioned Banshee Boardwalk, and then DK's Jungle Parkway.
That was
That
also
has
on
the
my list.
giant jump that you go over. It's a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Peach Beach, Wario Coliseum, and DK Mountain as well. Those are all on my list. All right. So before we get into our talking point all about the GBA, just a couple quick updates for you on the news front. If you didn't see, the Nintendo Switch got an update this week that adds folders. Oh my God.
And they called it groups though, so I don't
Groups.
think it counts.
Yeah.
Oh, it counts. What are you kidding me? None of us bet on it. Who cares?
I know. I swear this was on my list last year, and I went with a web browser this year instead of folders because I thought they're not gonna fucking do folders.
Silly.
And now they've done this.
Absolutely silly. You were this close, buddy. But yeah, I mean, great functionality, long overdue. Weird to see it come this late in the game, but hey, never say
Doesn't
never.
work exactly how I want though. Like I wanted the folder on the main strip,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
hidden away in the all software section, and then you have to like sort by groups, and it shows up in the.
It's annoying
groups
that you
you've
can't like
done.
pin them.
Yeah, I wanted
Yeah,
it like
yeah.
I want the first one on my list to be like the folder with all of the games I play in, and I can
Mhm.
just like pin them into the specific position I want. But it doesn't work like that, which is a shame. But it's a step. It's a feature.
It's
a
still
new operating
useful.
system feature. Very useful.
Like, I'm excited to be able to put like games that I reviewed that I don't ever intend on playing ever again in a folder, like, and
Just
hide it
delete
away.
them. Just get rid of them. If you delete it instead of archiving it, it won't even have an icon anymore. It's great.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Sometimes I like to glide through and be like, ugh.
I will say the thing I do kind of like about them being like kind of groups instead of folders is that when you did the folders in like older Nintendo consoles, it would take that game and that was basically like where it would live, right? But the groups
Yeah.
like put games into multiple lists now.
Which makes so much sense. It's like a
Yeah,
playlist, right? It's like, oh, this Mario game is also a racing game. So I might want it in the Mario games folder and the racing games folder or the fighting games folder. And it just makes
yeah.
so much sense. It's how it should have always worked all
hmm
along.
Yeah,
But it never did.
the first thing I made was an up next group where I just put
Nice
like
one.
the games I really want to like play and beat and focus on for now. So
Which
yeah.
has Monster Hunter in there, right?
No, it doesn't. But well, I guess it doesn't have Rise in there, but I haven't put stories in there yet. But that will go in there.
Okay. Working through that backlog.
Yeah, it's a lot of games that I'm like pretty close to beating and just haven't yet. So I was like, you know what? Let's just put them up next. That's it.
All right. And then our next piece of news is that bad news for all you Dragalia Lost fans, of which I know there are literally dozens of you.
Hey, a
Hey,
lot of
whoa,
5-star characters in
People
that.
are gonna be like hating on you. This Patreon producers milkshakes was devastating.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If you are a listener from back in the Loot Pots days, I stayed up until fucking 2 a.m. to write up the direct announcement of this game. Like, they hyped this thing up and then nobody cared about it. So I'm
because it was a new IP from Nintendo on a mobile platform. We were like, this could be the start of something.
Should
cool.
have been a
This
big
could be the start
deal.
of, like,
I know.
the Dragalia Lost
Yeah.
universe, and it can come to other platforms. And now they're just killing it. And I love their announcement. It's just like, thank you for playing the Dragalia Lost game. It's like, okay, like it's just so weirdly worded.
It says,
mean-
well, from the Twitter, they said, we'd like to share information about the future of Dragalia Lost. After the main campaign has ended, service for the game itself will end at a later date. Please see the message linked below for more details, and thank you for playing. So sad.
Man.
Yeah, it's
Sad
shutting
news.
Maybe
down
if
sometime
they-
in the next year. And they have no idea when, which is just great for fans.
The campaign's going to end in July. So that's part 2 of chapter 26, and then that's like the actual end of the story. So my question is, though, when it says service for the game itself will come to a close, does that just mean that they're gonna take the game?
It sounds like they're shutting it down.
Yeah, it's
to
been
me.
shut down entirely.
Like,
Yeah.
why? Why don't you just make it offline so people can just play the
Because
through the content?
I guess it's difficult to make like a gacha game offline.
I guess
Yeah.
that's a shame.
They should have brought the characters to Smash. Then it would have been more popular.
Yeah, I mean, look what it did to Fire Emblem.
It's true.
Yeah.
But anyway, sad news for all you Dragalia Lost fans, and, a shame. Hopefully they'll find a way to, provide some kind of offline support so that folks who've invested in the game for the last 3 years have the ability to, do something with that.
Yeah.
But,
It really does suck. And it feels like Nintendo are just slowly pulling out of the mobile
100%,
space apart
100%.
from like the
Mhm.
heavy hitters like Mario Kart. It's like Dr. Mario went, this one went, I can see Pikmin going next, which is great news for Chewie and
Sure
bad
is.
news for
Yeah,
everyone
Pikmin
else.
Bloom is next. It's going to be gone any minute now.
There's no way Pikmin Bloom was more popular than Dragalia Lost. Like, that's
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I think Chewie and
If
I
I
are the
had to
only two
guess-
people that ever played it.
If I had to guess, they'll keep Pokemon Go, Fire Emblem, maybe Pocket Camp, but I don't know how that's doing these days.
know
But
Fire
Pokemon
Emblem-
Go and Fire Emblem seem to be like the real money
And
makers
Mario
for them.
Kart
in
Tour,
mobile.
right? Mario Kart Tour's a biggie for him.
Yeah, probably that one.
And
I
Super
guess I
Mario
haven't seen the
Run's
numbers
still
in a little
there,
bit.
raking in the $10 a piece. Like, just
Raking
weirdly
in
just sat
tens
there.
of dollars.
Tens of dollars.
According
That's
to
like
you,
when
Steve,
you-
one of the 10 best Mario games ever made. They can't get rid of that.
That's like when you look at the Xbox One sales and see that they're in literal double digits in Japan for the entire country, and you're just like, wow, that is.
That's like
That's
a
not a
why
lot
did
of
you even
sales.
bother situation. It's like just stop.
So anyway, R.I.P. Dragalia Lost. Fingers crossed for Chewie's prediction, I guess.
I need a point. I need one.
Want to get this guy on the board. All right, so let's jump into our talking point this week. Happy birthday, Game Boy Advance. Great little console.
So good.
Great little family of consoles. Spared
Sure.
many a console.
The SP,
Was
the
it just
first
that
ever
for original?
backlit console. Pretty big
Not
deal.
the first ever. We had the it was first ever Nintendo one, but we had the Game Gear.
Oh, right. The
one
Game Gear
one.
did have a light. That's
Yeah.
true.
That was a chonky boy with
Yeah.
the fluorescent tube.
And you
in
needed to
there
put like
rather than an
18D
LED.
batteries in
Yeah.
it so you could play for like 2
Yeah.
hours.
It was like a workout when you lifted that thing up. It's like, oh,
I remember my-
God, there we go.
My best friend growing up had a Game Gear, and I remember he could not afford batteries for it, so he just had to plug it in. So I was like, so it's basically just a portable Genesis with a smaller library. But okay.
It was cool though. Like it was really cool. The Game
Oh
Gear,
no,
but
it was very
the GBA
cool.
was cooler.
Yeah, it was very cool. But yeah, we're here to talk about the GBA.
And the micro. Do you consider that GBA? I consider that GBA.
It is a
doesn't have
GBA, but
fancy
I'm not.
name, but it is a GBA.
I'm not here to talk about it though. If I'm honest, I don't care about the
Yeah.
micro. I never played the micro. That was old
Look,
news.
they put it
That's
out
great.
because, when they put out the DS, they were like, no, we're still supporting the GBA.
Yeah, it was the 2DS XL of
Yep.
the of the Game Boy family.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, for me, like, I have a lot of really good memories with the Game Boy Advance. I was a huge Game Boy guy. I missed our episode all about the Game Boy. Hopefully we'll get to do another one of those one of these days. But
Yeah, we had Nina from the Haken podcast.
yeah, great episode.
lovely.
Go check it
Yeah.
out. It's like number 3, I think, of Nintendo Noise. And yeah, I mean, I was very entrenched in the Game Boy ecosystem. It was definitely the console that I spent the most time on, between Pokemon and a lot of other games that I really came to love. And then the Game Boy Advance, it was like, it just felt like such a revelation, right? Of just like, whoa,
Yeah.
like,
The color definitely felt like a step in the middle, right?
yeah,
It wasn't that next wow.
It was
this is
like
so
0.5
cool moment. It really was a
Mhm.
0.5, and the GBA felt like, wow, this is like the Game Boy 2. This is so cool. I've got like full on games on this. Like you had 3D with like the Mario Kart and stuff like that. It was really cool. And
Yeah.
changed the like format. Like we were used to this upright thing, and then it changed to that widescreen format with the shoulder buttons. It was easier to hold in your hands than the original game, but I know some people hate that form factor and prefer the SP and stuff.
Do
but
you remember?
I liked it.
I think the SP was like insane to hold. It was so small. But do you remember how when you put a Game Boy game in the GBA, like it stuck out, but you could like press the L and R and it would stretch it and make it widescreen, and it was like the ugliest thing imaginable.
Yeah, I remember that. I guess, does that mean the GBA was Nintendo's first widescreen gaming console?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, must have been.
What a step.
Because did it come out before the GameCube? Because that did have some 16:9 games on, but I don't know if it came out before.
I think they came out the same year, but I don't remember which one came first.
I think the Game Boy came first. The Game Boy Advance came first.
Oh, you know what?
Sure
No,
the GameCube
it did, because
is like October-ish.
it was October or November, I think, of that year.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I had the like original see-through blue one. I know a lot of people had like the indigo one.
I can't find mine, but yeah. Well, this is Sarah's.
You've got one. Yeah, I had a see-through blue one, exactly like that one, whereas Sarah's got the see-through pink one.
Yeah,
I loved those colors. They were so good.
Mhm.
They were really cool. And then my brother had right before, like in between that and the SP, they did another revision, and I don't know if either of you remember, that had a better screen on it. It was like a higher contrast screen. And they did it specifically initially in the black model. So my brother had like the black model of the Game Boy Advance, and I remember him scratching my screen, and I was really upset. And I wanted to steal his Game Boy instead.
I can't find my indigo one. That was the one that I had, and it's funny because I know one of the things we said we wanted to talk about memories. Like I have a really funny story about that. So I had wanted the Game Boy Advance, right? And my parents were very supportive of my gaming habits. So when I was like, oh my God, there's a new Game Boy, I want the Game Boy Advance, like this is the number one, like we got to get this on day one. Like it was a big deal. And I think it's one of the only consoles, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I got it at launch, or like right at launch, basically. Because I remember coming home from school and being surprised by it. Like, and it was like, oh, we went and got it for you. So it would be home when you were home from school. And it was like,
wow, I had to wait for till Christmas for mine.
Oh, and I was so stoked. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, thank you so much. And I remember my mom being like, oh, I wanted to bring you, and so like you could pick it out and everything, but I wanted to make sure I got it. And like, so, I hope you're happy with the one I got you. And I was like, oh, I mean, there's only one color I don't want, and it's like the solid purple one, which is like the indigo one that everybody has. And that was, of course, the one that she got. And so I lied, and I was like, oh, not this one, the see-through one. That's the one I didn't want. even though I definitely wanted that one. But I lied because I didn't want to make her feel bad. And like, obviously, like, who gives a shit, right? Like, I was happy to have a Game Boy Advance. Like, I got over it very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I that was like such a like shitty kid moment, right? But then I was like, all right, I saved it. I did the right thing.
Yeah. Which one did you have, Chi? Did you get yours from a friend as well, like all of your other handheld consoles?
No, this is where that ended after the Game Boy Color, unfortunately. So I had to, start relying on my parents for any of the new ones, right? But I had the same see-through blue. What is it, like the Arctic blue or
It's
whatever?
like ice blue, Arctic blue, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that one. Mine is so discolored now, just from, I don't know, it was sitting
Excessive
out
use.
for a while. Yeah, probably excessive use and that sort of thing, but it's kind of like yellowish now. It's a little gross.
They went
Freaks me
horrible
out.
in the sun.
Yeah, so it probably
can't
just
find
like
mine.
sat out one day and got pretty discolored because the bottom of it like still looks like that normal blue color, but the top of it was like visibly different. My brother had the black one as well. I have them both in my possession at the moment, but they're in a box buried under things right now, so I can't pull them out.
Did
But yeah,
either of
I had
you
those.
end up getting the SP, or did you?
Man, I wish.
I only
didn't
had the
get
wide one. I never got an
Yeah.
SP.
Yeah, we had an SP. It was awesome. We had the front lit one, not the back lit one. And it
that
was amazing
sucks.
because you could have it. Well, it was the first one that came out, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as it came out, my parents got it, and you could like plug it in, which was amazing because we were chugging through batteries. I had this goofy ass like thing that you plugged in, and then you plugged the cable into the battery compartment on my original Game Boy Advance, but it was like a gray color and it looked naff compared to like the actual battery compartment. But then on the SP, you just plugged it straight in, and I guess it was the first handheld console that did it, and it got stolen, and we have no idea where it
Oh
went.
man,
So it was really
Aw.
devastating.
that's such a bummer.
It's funny. I'm missing a couple of my original handhelds, and they were all stolen. Like, I guess maybe my GBA got stolen. I have no idea. I thought it was in this bag.
Yeah, my GBA's gone. I think I may have sold it because I got a DS Lite, and it was like I could play all the GBA games on this anyway. So it was like, sort of, what's the point in keeping a GBA when I already had like something with a backlight on it that could play them?
Yeah, I unfortunately did a similar thing. Like, I still have a bunch of my Game Boy Color games, but I sold or gave away most of my Game Boy Advance games to like my little cousin, or like I sold them to like a store when I had like no money and I needed to sell games to buy games. I got rid of a bunch of retro stuff. And because I was like, well, if I can always emulate them, I can always get them later. I'll figure it out. And I really regret getting rid of that stuff, this is the thing, like, I always tell people, like, when they're like, oh, should I sell my game? Should I sell hardware? It's like, I've never sold something and not regretted it, period. I wish every piece of hardware I've ever gotten rid of, I wish I kept,
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm
like,
just like,
I don't have my OG Xbox. I don't have my OG GameCube. Like, a lot of them gone. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, I don't have my OG GameCube because I played that thing to death. I had to get a new one, literally.
I don't have mine because it was my brother's, and he refuses to let me take it or the Game Boy player. He just texts me profanity, so I can't have it.
What a monster.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Sam. He listens to the show. I can't. Don't want to start anything. I just have so many good memories with the Advance. Like the Game Boy years were like some of my favorite memories with gaming, and like just spending so much time, like whether it was like in the back of your parents' car, right, and you're going to grandma's
good luck
house.
seeing it back there. Like I had one of those squiggly light things that
The
plugged
worm light?
into the link port.
Yep.
It was fucking terrible.
Yep.
Because it was just like a hotspot on the screen. It wasn't like what you needed, like a source like the sun, and to be able to see that screen. It was so dim. It was a really poor screen on that console.
So I had the worm light originally, and I remember was the silliest thing. So I had the worm light, and I would plug it in, and I would move it around so I could see what was happening on both sides of the screen.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I would just play Pokemon because it's turn-based, right? So you could get away with it. But then I remember my mom noticed me doing that, and like she bought me this thing that was like, it was really cool actually. It like, you remember how on the top of the Game Boy Color it had like the slat at the top? You know, there was kind of like an indent. It like snapped into that, and it had two forward-facing lights that shot down on the screen and illuminated the screen, but then it had a magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah, I had one of those on the.
I had that too.
awesome.
That's totally the one I had.
It was so good, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can play at night now!" Like,
yeah, they were awesome.
Incredible.
I remember
that was
reading
an essential for me, especially like on road trips.
It was the only way you could play.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember reading in the official Nintendo magazine, I think it was, or it might have been some other dodgy magazine that we got, but it was this mod that people were doing on Game Boy Advances, where it was like, I guess, a piece of plastic with like an LED strip along the bottom, and you would take your Game Boy Advance apart and you would like solder it on, and it would add like the front light to the Game Boy Advance.
Whoa.
Within it on the inside, yeah. And I really, really wanted my dad to do it for me, but it was expensive, and he was like not confident. I don't think that he would not break my console because that would have been really expensive then. So we never ended up doing it, and then the SP came out anyway. But it was such a cool mod. I remember thinking how amazing it was that you could have like a Game Boy with a light, and I could like use it under my covers.
My dad used to bitch about that all the time because I would always be like, "Oh, Dad, look at this cool thing!" Like, and I'd be like trying to show him my Game Boy. He'd be like, "I can't. How do you see this?" And like, he was like, "Why don't they put a backlight on this thing?" I remember he had a because he was a sailor, right? He sailed boats for years and years and years. And he had a GPS that had a backlight on it for when you were using it at night. And he's like, "Why?" And I remember him showing it to me. And he's like, "They need to put one of these in this damn Game Boy so that you can see what you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, you're crazy, Dad."
Yeah. Kind of going back a little bit, because you reminded me of a little rabbit hole I fell down just a while ago, but with like the screen updates. 3DSs also have that same kind of thing where you either have like a TN screen or an IPS screen on there. And I just remember like finding that out and then doing little tests on mine and finding out it was a TN screen. And I was man.
What, the IPS?
I should have, yeah. The IPS ones are way nicer.
I guess all of the new Nintendo 3DSs are probably IPS displays rather than
no, it's random. Like that's the whole reason and you could get like one where the top is and then the bottom isn't, or reversed and everything.
What the hell? That would be horrendous.
They mix and match them. Yeah. So I think I fell into it because somebody was like, I have like 8 new 3DS consoles because I'm just trying to find one that has both IPS screens. And then the one they had like a dead pixel in it, and they were just like, no.
So, do y'all remember this gem too?
Never had one. Always wanted one to plug it into the GameCube.
I had 4 of them.
The GameCube link connection thing, so you could like plug it in for
you could play Four Swords.
You could play Four Swords Adventures
for Animal Crossing, Four Swords, Crystal Chronicles,
and
all of those
Sonic
games.
Advance as well.
Yeah. Chao Garden.
Yeah, I played all of those games. I had every one of them and was into them. Except Crystal Chronicles.
You should have had a Dreamcast. It was way ahead of its time with the VMU. It was so cool.
Yeah, I don't know though. Sega, come on.
They had some good games. They had some really good games.
No shade, but shade. So, one last thing I wanted to share in terms of like memories with the GBA is this case is the original case that I had, And
Was it like a Mad Catz thing?
yeah, it's Pelican. And
Okay.
I have this Captain Underpants keychain on it.
Yeah.
From the Scholastic Book Fair in like 2004 or whatever, and I got this like the year the Game Boy came out.
Oh, those book fairs, yeah, where they used to
Dude.
sell you books at like above retail price. They were.
First of all, I
they
don't
were
know
always
how
Alright.
this is in such good shape. Like, why isn't this more
I'm gonna
beat
tell
up?
you,
This was in my pocket all the time. But anyway, yeah. So
my
it's,
brother used that exact same case.
no,
the exact
really?
one.
That's so
Yes,
funny.
Yes.
It was a great case. I mean, it had the interior pocket for the device. On the back, you had a slot for a bunch of games, and there was like a thing where you could put a link cable. Like it was
Mhm.
it was a really good case. I mean, you can see it's still in great shape. I carried this all over the place.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like this case specifically with the Captain Underpants thing, like when I think of the Game Boy, I think of this bag. You know, it's so funny. I can't believe this bag survived, and I don't know where my original Game Boy Advance is.
Well, yeah, I have no idea what my original Game Boy Advance is, but as we went through on stream on Tuesday, and I recommend anyone that's interested go check out the VOD. I have a bunch of like pristine boxes, like ridiculously
I really,
okay boxes with a load of
so
posters
jealous.
in them. They
I
used to
want
give
that
you
poster
posters.
so bad, dude.
Yes.
I want
They
that
used to give you
poster.
posters. I've got it's on the back. It's like it tells you all about how the link cable works, so you can
I
like
had
do this weird like
3 of those link
stuff.
cables.
There's tons of them. I've got there's like a poster in every single one of these boxes. They used to just chuck them in to sell you things. It was so cool. So that was like a fun trip down memory lane that we went down on stream today.
You should clip that part out at least, and we should just throw that up on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think I will. I'll take it out because the second half's Elden Ring, but I'll
Yeah.
put the first half,
Just
like
clip
the
out
first
the-
hour up, and we'll just do it publicly on YouTube so everyone to have a look at.
Put it up like the same day as this, so everybody can have like a nice little companion piece. Also, on that episode, Steve, myself, and
I did nothing. It didn't happen.
one
It
of
did
our
not
Patreon
happen.
producers, Smokey Shake,
Milky Shake.
we all did our best Wario impression. So if you want to hear that, go check it out.
Love it.
Okay, so to wrap up the show, we're going to talk about our favorite GBA games. We each have a top 5, as well as some honorable mentions. And we're going to go through them like we did on our Mario episode back on episode 29. And we're going to just go through and kind of, we'll each name our top 5. We'll tally a score, and then we'll use that score to make a top, 5 or 10, I guess. We'll debate about it, and we'll see what we end up going with. And then we'll have our definitive list of flip screen games, Game Boy Advance games. But before that, we had a couple comments from a few of you listeners from the community that I wanted to throw in here where you named some of your favorite games. So Mango wrote in and said, Pokemon Emerald is all I have to say. Oh, and also Mario Tennis Power Tour. So not all you had to say, but I mean, still very prestigious company there, those 2 games. Great ones. We'll see if they show up on our lists. Ray from the community said, there's too many to count. The GBA is honestly one of my favorite consoles. Metroid Fusion / Zero Mission, Minish Cap, Mother 3, WarioWare, Wario Land 4. The list could go on. Hard to believe it's 21 now. It sure is. It sure is.
Has it been like 21 years or 20 years since a Wario Land game came out? Is that
Yeah.
really how long I've been waiting?
I mean, that game wasn't even new, right? Wasn't Wario Land 4 a port? Or was that new?
No. That was
Okay.
new. It was fresh.
All
It was new. We had Wario World after that, but it's not the same.
Not the
It's
same.
not the same.
Not the same. Bring it back. Bring back Wario Land, Nintendo.
To make
Wakahula.
other people feel older as well, Ratatouille had a game on the GBA, so
Yeah. So there you go.
apparently that's old enough to happen.
Oh, no. I can't even think about that for too long. Wakahula wrote in and said, I remember visiting my grandparents on a holiday in the summer of 2001 in Greece, and my grandma buying Golden Sun for me after I begged her for hours. Man, I love this game so much. The mix between fake and real 3D and sprite work is so beautiful. I hope they remake the first one someday. You're not alone in that. Everyone's always asking for a Golden Sun remake. And then the Tyler Olson wrote in and said, Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire for the GBA was my jam. Another great one.
Nice.
Another great one.
Awesome.
All right.
It's kind of crazy to me how many games, hearing through that list, that I just missed on the GBA.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
know my list is going to be very different to yours because I didn't have that many games on the Game Boy Advance, and the ones I did weren't like the heavy hitting big games that most people think about. I never played Metroid Fusion and Minish Cap until I was older, and
Mm-hmm.
I never owned them. That's crazy, really.
I have so many games, and I cut like a lot of them. I cut a ton of games just to make like my honorable mention list was almost like 3 times
You
as
can only
long
have
as
one honorable mention. Did we tell you that? That's all you're allowed, Pete. So you
No.
have to cut all the other ones
Fuck
as well
off
from that list.
Fuck off with that. No. All right. I think I have a top.
Well, I'm gonna cheat by putting shout-outs, ones that aren't on this list at all. No, they're not honorable mentions,
just
but they have to be shouted out.
I have 8 honorable mentions, and I'll just go through them quickly, But we'll do that at the end, because Steve made the point last time that if we go through the honorable mentions, you'll know what's not on the list, and I don't like that. So we'll go through our list. We're going to do it round robin style. We'll each give our 5, our 4, our 3, so on and so forth. If this is your first time tuning in or first time seeing a list episode, the 5th game will get 1 point. The number 1 game on each person's list will get 5 points. So the max a number of points a game can get is 15, and the least number it can get is 1.
And then if there's a tie, we shift out the game below it. So it'll be, we have to decide between the 3 of us which one gets that number 1 spot and then the number 2 spot.
Right.
So
and
there will be a comprehensive list.
Yeah, and we'll name like a top 10 basically based on this list, I guess. And we'll see how that shakes out. Because I don't know, there might be a lot of crossover. It's hard to say, but we'll have at least a definitive top 5. Yeah, I mean, I think Chewy and I are going to have a fair amount of crossover.
I don't think so at all.
Chewy and I, you don't
I've got some weird ones. I've got some weird ones, but I've also got some that I think should be on there. Top 5 ones.
I feel like we talked around it, and I think he and I already have 3 that are on the same. We'll see. Anyway, so I'll go first, I guess, with my number 5, which is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. So this is a great game. It is I believe, the only original Zelda game on the Game Boy Advance, and gonna just fact check myself on this next.
Capcom.
Yep, was gonna say this is also one. I think it was the last one that they made, because they had, of course, done Oracle of Ages and Seasons on the Game Boy Color, which were beloved and great, and then the Minish Cap was their GBA entry. And I just think it's a really great game. It's really delightful. It has a great personality. I like the cap as a Zelda companion, right? And I thought that the whole, the gimmick of having the large parts of the map and the small parts of the map was something that they really played with in a way that was interesting and cool. And I loved, you'd be in a forest and then you'd shrink down and go into a stump and find a little bug city or something like that, and just those kind of moments were really cool. And this is a game I got to later. I played it, I think it was, you know what? It was after the GBA had already been retired. And I remember it was actually a game I played for the first time on emulator. And it was one of the first games I played on the Visual Boy Advance when I was like, oh my God, you can emulate games. And it was one that I had just missed when it was contemporary and always wanted to try it. And felt super rewarded that I got to get into it. And I played the entire thing on a mouse and keyboard because I hadn't figured out controllers and pads and stuff because I was 12,
I can't decide if I like the controls on that, but it's when you think about it, it's the only way they could have done it because you only had 2 face buttons and then you had the shoulder buttons. But for I think it's the shoulder buttons, the action button, right? If I remember correctly, I felt like I was clicking
I couldn't
that
tell you
all of the time on it. It was really weird.
But I don't know. I think it's a game that kind of gets forgotten a little bit. I think there are a lot of people who like it, who stand for it, but I don't think it gets brought up often in the conversation of best Zelda games. But it's one that I always really remember and look back on fondly. And I like the Toon Link style, right? And like I
Me
think
too.
this is one
It's
of
my
the
favorite of the Link styles, to be perfectly honest.
I think
love
this is
that
the best
and
game that
Wind
isn't
Waker.
Wind Waker that uses
Yeah.
Toon Link.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, love the Minish Cap. Everybody should check it out. Let's get a port.
I should. It's solid.
So my number 5 is one that's going to be on all of your lists, which is GT Advanced Championship Racing. From
He's got the
THQ
box
Games.
and everything.
I've got the box and everything, which, according to IGN Pocket, is the most impressive real-world handheld racing game available.
Wow.
So they say. But this was really good. This game, it had licensed cars from like people like Honda, Nissan. I remember the Nissan Cube was in here, which is one of my favorite cars of all time. And rather than it was sort of like arcadey, but sort of simulatory at the same time. And it was awesome to be able to play this and have like 3D games on a handheld, having come from the Game Boy Color. It was like mind blowing to me. Like, oh my god, these cars look so realistic, and I'm going around this completely flat course with no sense of horizon whatsoever. But this is like amazing. This is next level. And like you would go, and clearly inspired by Gran Turismo, except called GT Advance. And in Japan, it's just called GTA, which is just crazy to me. And it had like all the same tuning stuff. Like I remember going in, it's like change out your air filter, change your exhaust, and you would like tune up all your cars and then go through it. Like they took a lot from it. The one annoying thing I remember, and it's that it didn't have saves. It didn't have like a battery save system, and it would give you a password at the end of every single
Yeah,
course that you
those games.
completed. So you
That
had to
happened
like
with a
write.
lot of games.
It was
It was such a
ridiculous.
bummer. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to like write down a password in I think I had like a notebook that I used to write them down in. And it was a great way to like cheat, because you could come back in and you could completely cheat if you wanted to and just like get someone else's password and like put it in. But man, what a goofy ass system. Just put a battery pack in. Don't cheap out. Just let me save the game. It's
You know what,
every single time you would boot it up, you had to put the password in.
The funny thing is, though, with the password system, right? Like all the batteries in those cartridges go dead eventually, right? The password system's forever.
It's always going to work. Yeah, it's
a future-proof system.
That's true.
So there is that. All right, Chewy, number 5.
All right, mine, WarioWare Twisted. I think it's fair to say that I'm going to put a WarioWare game up there. There were a couple of them for Game Boy Advance. I think there was Micro Games and then Twisted. But Twisted, every once in a while, before like the Wii, before gyro controls, before like, the home console started messing with those, Nintendo liked putting that stuff in like special cartridges for their games. So like I remember Kirby Tilt and Tumble had that whole thing where you just like you can move, the whole control is motion. Like you move the
had like a
the
ball
Game Boy
inside the cartridge or something. Like it was super weird.
Yeah, it was wild. And then I think they did a Yoshi one too, like Yoshi Topsy Turvy or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But WarioWare Twisted was a Game Boy Advance game, had one of those special cartridges that gave it like gyro and I think rumble too.
Nice.
But it was so fun. It was just so cool to see like them. I felt like this was the era of WarioWare that like started doing like all these different gimmicks for how they played them. And so Twist was all about like motion games and stuff, and then this led to like Touched on the DS, which was like all the touch screen controls and stuff, and then the Wii had its own stuff going on with smooth moves. Yeah. So I think it really launched it into those like weird gameplay gimmicks that I think fits really well for like more than any other series. I think it works for WarioWare. So yeah, this one always stands out. And there are callbacks to this one in WarioWare Gold. There's some of like the motion control stuff on that one too. So it's such a fun one. It's such a different way to like look at the games, and I always like when they change it up with WarioWare. I think that's the one series where I'm like, yeah, do something different every time. I don't care. New gimmicks are fine with this series.
Sure. All right. Okay, so then next up, I have number 4, Advance Wars.
Ooh.
Yeah, you gotta have Advance Wars on this one, right? I mean, come on. Of
I wouldn't have
course,
made my top 5, I don't think.
I think that's frankly crazy, but you know what? I respect it. You know, you do what you got to do. Um, but for me, Advance Wars was definitely like one of the games that defined the GBA. And I'm pretty sure it was my first taste of tactical RPGs. Or at least like this kind, right? There's another game that we might talk about later. Um, but yeah, this was one that really was like a very common game for me to go back to, right? Like it was one that like you jump in, jump out. It was super easy. It was a great TV game, right? It was like a great like, especially when because one of the interesting things about the GBA is like the first half of the GBA, I was very much still into Pokemon. And then around the middle of its life cycle is when I remember getting kind of like some outward like societal pressure that like it was no longer acceptable for me to like Pokemon. That was like a baby game and I was too old for it. And I remember having that kind of shift, right? Where I wasn't playing Pokemon anymore, but I still like my turn-based RPGs, and that was when I got into the tactical side of things, and this was a game that like
That's so weird that you didn't go and play another turn-based RPG. Like, Final Fantasy's sitting right there, and you just decided to go and
I
play
mean,
Advance
I
Wars
did play a lot of Final Fantasy. If we had a top 20, there's another. They had the.
They would have been on there.
I think it was. I forget what it was called. It was Final Fantasy 1 and 2 something Advance, and they did a packaged collection of those two games and played the shit out of those. So yeah, I definitely that also happened. But Advance
It
Wars
gets
was
so
part of
confusing
that.
too. Like, are those actually? Was that actually 6? No, at that point, I think they started putting in like the actual numbers, right?
Yeah, it
Yes.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
believe so anyway.
Man, I get so confused with that
It's
whole
insanely
thing.
confusing. So yeah, Advance Wars is definitely one that has a place in my heart for sure, and like I was really excited when they announced the remaster. Obviously that's been kind of pushed back indefinitely right now, so we'll see when we do get our hands on it. But when it does come, it's a game that like I am just so excited to sink another
Online multiplayer
100
and
hours into. Yeah, Chewy, I'll play you every night, bro. Like, let's go.
Just go play War. Like, if you need to fill the time, go play War Group multiplayer. Like, there must be some
That's true.
community-made
I
apps on there that you could download.
I love Wargroove, but the fact that Advance Wars is like on the horizon, I don't want to like get my fill, and then when that comes out, I don't feel like playing it anymore. So like right now I'm itching for it, but I don't want to scratch that itch too well. But I mean, hey, I love Wargroove. Wargroove is one of my favorite games on the Switch, and that's why. So
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, War Group's great. Yeah, there's dogs in it, so I was sold on it. Like those cute little dogs can do no wrong. So my number 4 also, that is on any of your list. Again, I had a limited collection of games. So these are the games that I've played and probably owned. Some of them I didn't own, but it's the Pac-Man collection. I love Pac-Man a lot, and this had a bunch of games in that I had never heard of until I had the collection. Pac-Mania, Pac-Man Arrangement, and Pack Attack. Pack Attack is like, I guess Tetris meets Puyo Puyo, and like you build them up and you have to make it so Pac-Man goes and eats all the ghosts that are lit up blue, and like it builds out like a maze, and then you eat them. It's really strange. To go look up a video of Pack Attack. It's absolutely bizarre. And then like Pac-Mania was like a 3D version. Pac-Man Arrangement was like the base game, but they'd like made it look fancy. But it was really cool. I played the hell out of this. It was one of my go-tos when I just wanted like a casual game. Like if I was in a waiting room or something, I would just pull out my GBA and I would just play some Pac-Man, because it was like an arcade, a puzzle game. You could just play a little bit. It's kind of been that kind of game's been taken over now by mobile. I kind of miss it. Like I do kind of miss just being able to boot up a console that's dedicated just for games. and just play some good old classic games.
Good old Pack
It was really
Attack.
good fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing it on screen right now. It's the SNES version, so I'm sure it maybe looked a little different on GBA, but
That was probably exactly the same, to be honest. It was they're just like it's probably just pack-in ROMs of the SNES games.
All right. Chewy, number 4.
All right, my next one. Yeah. Oh man, I was so torn making this list, but this one was a pretty easy pick, I think. Golden Sun. Just super
right.
amazing RPGs. I mean, Golden Sun 1 and 2 are both on the GBA. The third one, it's on the DS. It's not worth playing. But these games were just incredible. They were like, I think my exposure to like JRPGs definitely increased around the GBA, and just like playing this one was such a different take to what I was used to coming from like, playing Pokemon and growing up with that, and just seeing like how the systems worked and all the summons and things like that. It was just like this blew my mind. This day is still like I would love to eventually make a game like slightly inspired by this. I would do it differently, of course, but I think there's a lot of stuff that it does that I'm just like, yeah, this is a cool direction for an RPG. So yeah, Golden Sun, just delightful. I guess we should shout out too. Like it's on the Wii U eShop. You can get the first two as well, and a lot of games are just gonna disappear. At least like legal means to getting them are disappearing very soon. So if you've ever been interested, like and you have a Wii U, I know those are hard to come by as well now. But
It
yeah,
was
pick
so
it up.
annoying you couldn't play them on 3DS. Like, I
Yeah.
really wish it wasn't just those ambassador like ones that you could play it on.
Yeah, yeah. And man, they're so cheap and affordable on there too. It's like $7 for it. So man.
Instead, you got to go try and find a decent cartridge. I guess you could get a replica, one of those
Yeah.
like EverDrive cartridges as well as an option. But it really does suck that we can't just play these on a Switch, because that's where they should be
Yeah.
playable.
Yeah, everything. Just bring GBA to Switch Online. That would be, oh man.
Even that though, right? Like it's a half measure. Like I want to be able to buy whatever games I want, right? I don't want to have
That's
to
true.
wait
Yeah,
for
you'll
you to bring.
You'll have like a selection. You're gonna wait for like 6 months for the game you really want to come out.
if it comes
And
at
by
all,
that point, you'll
right?
just be like, oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because like how many of the games are games that aren't Nintendo, right? Like one of the games on my list, one of the highest games on my list, I'll say, is not a Nintendo published game. It would probably not come. That's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So number 3 for me is Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland.
Oh.
So this is, I would say, my favorite Kirby game. If forced to choose, it is a remake, kind of reimagining of the of Dreamland, Kirby's Dreamland.
Mhm.
And man, I'll tell you what, like this game was such a. Like this was a huge one for me. I played a ton of Nightmare in Dreamland, and I remember getting this for Christmas the year it came out, and like having it have been like on my wish list and circling it in a magazine. Like I remember going through all of that and then getting it Christmas morning. And, I always got a ton of video games on Christmas because it was my only hobby and the only thing I asked for, really. And this was the first game I played. I remember taking it, like, to my grandmother's house and, like, getting, a couple worlds in day one, getting to, like, the last boss fight, a couple, like, weeks later, and, like, just feeling like it, like, I remember feeling like it was like this big achievement that I had beaten this game, right? And I was like, oh, I beat Nightmare like crazy, and like I just I have such a fondness for this game, and like I think its pixel art is beautiful. It has a fantastic soundtrack. I think for my money, it's my favorite non-Mario platformer on the GBA. And I think when I think of what
Come on. It sat right there, Pete. Wario Land sat right there. Please, please.
I never played Wario Land. I don't know. But yeah, Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, bona fide classic in my opinion, and a game that like I think back to a lot. You know, when I think of the GBA, it's one of the first games that comes to mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never played it actually. I don't think I've ever played a pixely Kirby game.
If you were going to, this would be my suggestion. I think this game is just so good and it holds up.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you think Forgotten Land is going to surpass it for you as your favorite Kirby game?
I hope so. That'd be cool. I never say never, you know. I feel like it has a bit of a uphill battle in terms of the fact that like I really, really love Super Nintendo, Genesis era, like 16-bit pixel art a lot. And I love chiptunes a lot. And the aesthetic and vibe of that game is, I think, one of the big things that makes it stick in my mind, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope it's the best Kirby game ever. The Switch has produced a lot of best Nintendo franchise games ever. So I hope this is the latest. But for my money, that's the best Kirby game.
So my number 3 is Game & Watch Gallery Advance, otherwise known as Game & Watch Gallery 4.
I love that game. I love that
so
game.
Good.
Such a fun one.
I had Game & Watch Gallery 3 on the Game Boy Color. It was one of those black cartridges that could be played like backwards compatible on the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, and then the Game Boy Advance version of that, Game & Watch Gallery 4 or Game & Watch Gallery Advance, just like took it to the next level. Like the graphics were so much better. There was the music room you could go to. You could like play the classic version or the new version. Like if you played enough of the new version and got to like a certain point, it would unlock the original and you could like go back and play what it would have been like to play on an original Game & Watch, which was really cool.
So
Some of my all-time favorite games in there with Chef, Mario Cement Factory, Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, the original Donkey Kong Fire, boxing. It was just an absolute slam dunk of a package. I loved Game & Watch Gallery. And I think this was probably the game I spent most time in on the GBA, just because I would go back and I would constantly keep playing them all. And because you didn't get all of them at once, like you had to play them and reach a certain level, and then you would unlock the next game, or you'd unlock something in like the music room or the gallery corner or whatever. It was really cool how they did it, and there was always something new to find. It was really fun.
Man, I forgot about this game like until you brought it up, but I loved this game. My best friend had this, and I remember he loaned it to me after he had already like unlocked everything. So I just got it, and I was like, "Oh, there's so many games to play."
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Oh my god, what a good one. What a good one. Okay. Chewy.
Awesome.
Number 3.
My next one. This one was definitely one that had to be here. Final Fantasy Tactics. This was my launch into the tactical RPGs for sure. So Final Fantasy Tactics just takes like all of that awesome stuff from Final Fantasy and lets you really take it to the next level by making your guys so incredibly powerful. I spent before beating like the main story in this game, I think I clocked 100 hours on it just because I had to like go all out and make a unit for every single class in the game, because I was like, I want to make sure I have all of my options open for me at every point in time. So yeah, it was such a fun game to just enjoy. The story is great. It's got a bunch of really cool levels, and it has so much freedom in terms of like building up a party that I don't think any other tactical RPG really does, because this one's really like you recruit random people in like the inns and pubs or whatever the break places are, and you can just turn them into whatever you want. And that like that doesn't even exist in like Fire Emblems. Like everybody, I mean, later on they kind of mess with that, but like everybody is a character, you know. Whereas this one, it's just like you could just grab whoever off the street.
Yeah, and
and
it would be like
it,
there are named characters who are like in the
Mhm.
story and like, whatever, but like some of your best units are just randoms that you recruit
Yeah,
at some random bar, and then you choose their trajectory as like a character, and it's awesome. Um
yeah.
yeah.
It was just I loved that aspect to it. Just the fact that you could build things. And it's honestly like one of the main reasons I'm interested in like triangle strategy, just to see like another square tactical RPG out there. I haven't picked it up yet, but I did get the prologue, which is like the first 3 chapters. So I might play that a lot on my trip coming up.
There's that
But yeah,
Elysium game coming out as well, right? I can't remember what it's called. Something Elysium that's also from Square Enix that looks exactly like this. And I remember when it was announced, everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's the new Final Fantasy Tactics," and it wasn't. It was like a brand new franchise. I think they announced, or maybe a sequel to a really old franchise that they're resurrecting. It was
yeah, I
very
don't know.
weird.
But yeah, Tactics Advance, it's so good. It's another one that's on the Wii U eShop, and I can't recommend it enough. It's so solid.
Nice.
So I'm gonna go. My number 2 is also Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, so I can let this
Nice.
B-roll just keep rolling. I adore this game. I almost made it my number 1. It came very, very close. Um, I
Oh, I wonder what's your number one is. Looking at your list, there's no possible way I could figure it out.
I don't know. I came very close to making this my number 1, and this game is, I think, the game. It might be the game I spent the most time with on the Game Boy Advance. Like you said, Chewy, I think I put probably over 100 hours into it before completing it. I did like everything, and it's funny because I remember the first time I had never broken a bone, and then in like the 5th grade, right around the time that this game came out, I broke my ankle, and I had a pretty
Was
bad
it over the
break.
summer? Did you
No,
turn
it was
into like
over.
Bart Simpson?
It was over winter break, so like Christmas break. I had a broken ankle. Sucked. So that entire
Have you got to that Simpsons episode though?
I haven't
Yeah.
yet. No.
Oh, okay. That's a classic. When you get there, I want to talk to you about that
We'll
one.
talk about it on one more thing. So I remember my parents had gotten me this for Christmas, and they gave it to me a few weeks early because I was stuck inside and I couldn't do anything, and I was just like stuck sitting inside. And I remember the day they gave it to me, I think I played it for like 8-10 hours, something like that. And I remember my dad had like left and come back and was like, "Are you still playing that game?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "Okay, well, don't beat it yet. Like you got a lot of like broken leg time left, like, and I was like, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. And I was right. There was a lot of game left. It was not a problem. I
It's like
played
an
that game
advert for
months.
Duracell batteries. Like he went out, he came home, you're still playing it 8 hours later. And then the like pink rabbit comes up and it's just like, yep, just keeps on going.
But yeah, this was I think the first Final Fantasy game that I ever really, really clicked with. Like I can't remember if I played this before I played 9 and 10 or if it was one of those first, but I played this longer and got more into it and was definitely the first one I had ever beaten. And yeah, it's just like it's a game that looms in my mind, like I think back on this game a lot. I remember this being a game that like Chewy or I brought up at one point and we're like, yo, like, yes, because like there are a lot of people that remember this game fondly, but it's definitely was not as mainstream as some of the other big games on the GBA. So it always felt like kind of an obscure game to love as much as I do. But yeah, such a big one for me. This was my first, like, but well before I got into Fire Emblem Three Houses, right? Like this was my, point of reference for the tactical RPG. At least one that, like obviously Advance Wars as well, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just like the story of like, it's like this group of kids in this like, quiet little town, and they're like playing in the snow, and they all get
We're
transported
just having
into
a
this.
snowball fight.
Yeah, and they get
That's
transported
it.
into this
Yeah.
magical world, and like you got to find your little brother and all your friends, and like build this army around you so that you can try to get back home. And yeah, I don't know, it was a perfect game for me at the perfect time, and it's always been one that I think back on.
You ever play the original PlayStation game, Final Fantasy Tactics?
It's funny I did, because I loved Advance so much. My best friend loaned me up a copy of the PlayStation version because that was like his Tactics, and I remember I tried it and I was like, yeah, this is good, but I don't like it as much, and I think I replayed Tactics Advance.
That's fair. I mean, Tactics Advance came way after it, so I can imagine they learned quite a lot from the original.
Yeah, and also
like what Tactics was like 97,
something like that. Yeah, 96, 97. And Advance was obviously many years later, but also it was portable. So
yeah,
popped it in my DS and was like, let's rock. Let's play this one again.
So my number 2, and it's wild because I never thought I would be this person. Like, I've totally changed my gaming taste in the last year or so.
I don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah, I know. My number 2 is Metroid Fusion. Now, I chalked this up. I was like, is this recency bias because I've just finished it on Twitch and I had a really good time with it? But I don't think it is. I think this is just one of the best games on the GBA. It's a really, really good game. It has I think it has a really good story, actually. I was compelled with what was going on. I loved the monster design. I loved the level design. I loved the music. I was genuinely scared by it, like playing it as a 29-year-old. I can't imagine what like 10-year-old me would have thought playing this game. I probably would have screamed and like jumped and like dropped my GBA. It was really good. Like it shows its age in places. I think it could do with having more save rooms and a better checkpoint system, which was fine playing it in an emulator because I was able to do save states and things. But I can't imagine what playing it like as a kid would have been. I don't know if I would have beat it as a kid because it's quite a hard game, but playing it now, I was so glad I was able to finish it, and it's one of those gaming accomplishments for me. I had such a good time with Metroid Fusion.
Hell yeah. I was hoping it would make your
awesome.
list.
It had to. All right. My number 2. This is the one that's like, I don't think anybody knows it or remembers it as fondly as I do, but Bomberman Tournament. This one was... I think this Bomberman game had the most unique story mode to any Bomberman game that's ever come out. It's like a mix. It's like an action-adventure game, but you also have some monster collecting in there where all these monsters have different powers that you can get and stuff like that. And I played this forever. Like, not only the story mode, but also the multiplayer mode, because it had... you could use the link cables, connect with 4 friends, play with each other. Any trip where I was in the car with my friends and my brother, we would all be playing Bomberman the whole trip. It was great. And then, yeah, whenever people couldn't play with me, I was just like, you know what? Let's just keep digging into this story mode. And yeah, this stood out for me. It gave me like real... like Digimon vibes and that sort of thing, and that was just like
I can
the
kind of see
height
that.
of my interest of Digimon too. So it was a lot of good things coming together. So yeah, it had it all: party, story, and just tons of fun.
All right.
Never ever have I heard of this game. But according to Wikipedia, apparently Bomberman Tournament contributed to Activision's revenue going up 30% in the second quarter of 2001, and they attributed that entirely to Bomberman Tournament and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on the GBA.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is also really good. That was awesome. That one almost made it to my honorable mentions as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe it because that game is awesome. It's so... man, nobody has played it, but somehow everybody got it. if it did that well. So
Awesome. All right. So, coming up on our last picks, my number one game on the Game Boy Advance is, unsurprisingly, I would imagine, Pokemon Emerald. Had to do it to him. I'm a big Pokeboy. We all know this. Of course, I think Gen 2 of this era, right, of the first couple gens, like Gen 2 is always the one that stood out to me as being the best. But I remember what a big deal this game felt like at the time, and like what a massive improvement it felt like in terms of graphics, in terms of, environmental kind of like diversity. I mean, the game gets a lot of criticism because like a lot of the map is water, like a lot of it. But like you had the dive ability and you were going underwater, and like, you had like the secret bases, and it's a great dex. Gen 3 had a lot to offer. And particularly, I think like the additions that they made with Emerald were really, really good. And I think that, it is one of the examples of them really making good use of the third version to like, really iterate and add something meaningful with like the battle tower stuff. Like, yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff in Pokemon Emerald, and it's another one that like when I look to go back and play an old Pokemon game, like Emerald is often like a top candidate. It's been a really long time though. I haven't played Gen 3 in years and years, so maybe it's time for a return visit there. But yeah,
I don't know if they keep chucking out 2 Pokemon games a year at this rate. You're never gonna.
I'll never have time. I know.
An old one.
When am I ever gonna have time to play an old game? So yeah, Pokemon Emerald, classic, absolute classic. What more needs to be said? It's Pokemon, and it's one of the best ones.
True.
I've never played it, but I will take your word for it if it's on this list. I can imagine it's probably the best one on the system.
Yeah, definitely.
So my number one's going to surprise absolutely no one who has ever listened to this podcast. It's Wario Land 4. It's my all-time favorite game on the Game Boy Advance.
He's even got it right there.
I adore this game. Yeah, I do have it boxed. It's in great condition. I love this game. Same game engine as Metroid Fusion. Metroid Fusion.
It looks like it, actually.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the
Wario Land 4 engine.
Yeah, it looks very similar, actually. Is it a Metroidvania?
So much fun. No, it's not. It's just a standard platformer. You go to the different areas. There's like an overworld. You can like shoot off to all the different areas. You have to unlock them all, and then eventually you unlock like the big pyramid. But there's like a bunch of mini games, a bunch of mini bosses, and bosses you have to beat. So I guess in some ways there's maybe some Metroidvania elements because you can go back to specific areas, but it's not. You're unlocking abilities and going back to them, but you can see how it kind of works in Fusion. If you've played Wario Land 4, like you have that area in Fusion with all the lifts, and those lifts kind of take you to the different areas that you go to. That's kind of like the main section in Wario Land 4. That's like the pyramid where you would shoot off into all of the different areas and select which level you want to go to. So you can kind of see how it works similarly in terms of the game engine. But yeah, this is, for my money, the best platformer on the GBA. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. It looks amazing. It has great gameplay. It's really goofy. It's really fun. And I just really, really wish they would make another one. I've been wanting another Wario Land for so many years at this point, and I've never got one. And so hopefully one day Nintendo will listen to me and actually make one. That I can't be the only one that remembers this game fondly.
Blame WarioWare, dude. WarioWare totally changed the trajectory of Wario as a character,
I know, it made him more boring though. It was just like you just pigeonholed him into doing that one thing when he was like this really cool character. Like Luigi still shows up in other games. Yeah, he was like a ghost hunter and had a mansion game, but then he showed up in other games. He was still in the Mario and Luigi games.
Hmm.
Like, just they can do other things. They don't have to just do the same thing all the time. But
Yeah.
if you haven't already, go check out Wario Land 4. I don't know if it's available on the Wii U. Joe will probably be able to tell me if it is or not. I can imagine it would be because it's a Nintendo published title, and they just chucked. I think they chucked all of them on there.
Weren't you saying when we
go
talked
check it
about
out.
Mario Brothers 2 that you didn't like that you had to like jump on characters and throw them? It's exactly what I'm seeing Wario do right here.
No, I said it was the only one that you did, right?
Oh, okay.
Because it was different. It was new. You came from like the previous Mario games. Like that was
Okay.
something that wasn't part of Mario.
I thought I
But that
remembered you saying
absolutely
you
is
weren't a
something
fan.
you have to do. That is absolutely something you have to do in Wario Land. He controls so differently though. Like his sense of gravity, the way he feels, is really strange considering it's like a 2D game. But he feels really different. And there's like these things where like this big cow-looking thing will like throw bubbles at you and make you super super fat, like fatter than Wario usually is. And then he's like really heavy and he's so sturdy. And when you jump, he like thuds down the floor and can break the ground and stuff. It's really fun. It's such a good game. I love that game. Oh, and there's like all these bonus collectibles to find as well. Sorry, I just remember there's all these bonus collectible like CDs that you can find in all the levels, and you go back and you can like listen to all the music. It's really cool.
All right.
Anyway, I'll shut up now. What's true? Number one.
Chewing, number 1.
Well, it's a game that nobody else has talked about. Just kidding. It's Pokemon Emerald.
Hey!
Pokemon Emerald. Yeah, I agree.
That's
So
right.
I kind of similarly to you, Pete. It was definitely like I was at a little bit of a break with Pokemon. I had a lot of fun playing Silver version. That was like the last one I played prior to Emerald, and then there's just like a big gap. And I remember my brother picked up Pokemon Sapphire version, and I watched him play it, and I was just like, man. Pokemon's really fun. I'm gonna get this. And I think by the time I got around to it, the third version Emerald had come out, and I was like, sweet, well, I guess I'll get this one since it's like, the big new version of Pokemon for this generation. And yeah, I just remember having a good time with it. And it was like, just one of those weird times where you feel like you should be like growing out of these things and stuff and trying to get into more mature stuff, and kids at school are pressuring more of that direction, and I'm like, you know what, no, that's not me. I'm just gonna keep playing Pokemon games. So yeah, picked it up, had a great time. Definitely, I think Emerald is still to this day the Pokemon game I played the most out of all of them. Like, uh, I will say Legends Arceus is now getting up there. Like I've passed 100 hours on that one, but like I probably had like 300 or so on Emerald, and that was like the file that I've since deleted and restarted. Like after I'd
Oh no.
transferred all of the Pokemon I had to whatever the next game was, I was
Sure.
like, well, time to go at it again.
Have you
Um,
still got any of those Pokemon like in Pokemon Home?
yeah,
Like have they
yeah.
followed you all the way?
I have.
That's
I
so
think
cool.
Gen 3 was when they started being able to be
Yeah.
transferred over to those next games. So yeah, my oldest Pokemon are from Emerald.
Yeah, you can
Wow.
It's
transfer
wild.
them one way from the Gen 3 stuff to Gen 4, and then you were able to get
Yeah,
them in.
and then oh man, it's such a pain to get them out and keep getting them. I never want to do that again.
Yeah, it's a lot of
But
work.
yeah, it's a ton of work. But I'm glad I do have all of those Pokemon from those days. It's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so time to tally our list. Steve, you got the numbers for us?
I do have the numbers. So we're going to go 1 to 10 because we're going to need to figure out who comes in first place
Okay.
on the way because we do have some ties. But number 1 is Pokemon Emerald with 10 points. That surprises no one. Number 2 is Final Fantasy Tactics with 7 points.
Great list so far.
So good.
Number 3 is Wario Land 5. So yeah,
Wario
it's
Land
like,
4 with 5 points.
Wario
With
Land
5
4
points.
with 5 points. I agree. It's a pretty good list so far.
I'm happy with it.
Then we've got a tie between Metroid Fusion and Bomberman Tournament. So
Ooh, I
I
snuck
don't know what you
Bomberman
want to
Tournament in there.
If I'm
Pull the Pete.
since they're your two games, I guess I'll be the tiebreaker. I'll give it to Metroid Fusion because I had the
That's
demo
fair.
cartridge with Metroid Fusion on it, so I've at least
Oh.
played the first level of
There
that
were
game.
demo cartridges. Did anyone have those like movie cartridges as well? Do you remember those?
Yeah.
I had one with like an episode of Pokemon on it. Yeah, but there was like no
Can
sound.
we finish this so I can get to my shout outs, please?
Oh shit! Sorry, I forgot about the shout out.
Hurry up, Steve.
Okay, so then it's Bomberman Tournament, also with 4 points. Then we have a tie between Game & Watch Gallery Advance and Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland.
Kirby.
So Chewy's the
Let's
decider on that
go,
one.
Kirby. Let's go.
It's Chewy's the decider on that one.
It was Kirby and which one?
Game & Watch Gallery Advance.
Oh man. All right. I will go with Kirby on this one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland wasn't the one I spent time with on GBA. It was the mirror one, the amazing mirror.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
that was the original game that came out after this one.
Yeah,
Same
that
engine,
one-
I
that
think.
one's still solid. Still pretty solid.
Oh yeah, that game's great too.
So then we have a three-way tie with Golden Sun, Advance Wars, and the Pac-Man collection. I personally think it should go to Golden Sun because we had a couple of people write in about it. But I'm also happy for it to go to Advance Wars. I don't think Pac-Man collection should get it.
I would argue Advance Wars because I think it's one of the like most iconic GBA games, personally. But Golden Sun's great too. So
I
Sorry?
argue Golden Sun. But you're the tiebreaker on this one
yeah,
since
you're the
these are our
tiebreaker,
picks,
Steve.
right?
You said you don't want Pac-Man collection, so
I'll go Advance Wars then because it is in my honorable mentions list.
okay.
Oh, nice.
Controversial,
makes-
controversial question. Can we bump the pack collection and get Minish Cap number 10 on this list just because it looks better? Can I get
no,
the votes for
no, we
this?
can't. No, because Pac-Man collection is number 2.
What do you think? What do you think, Chewy? What do you think? Maybe we get Minish Cap in there, you know?
I mean, if
maybe
that's how the math adds
maybe
up,
we swap Kirby round then, and that becomes number 7.
Wait, you want to remove Kirby and put Minish Cap at number 6? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying, you got Kirby above Game & Watch. If Pac-Man collection's going, I'm moving mine up.
Yo, I'll take that trade. If we move Game & Watch to 6, Kirby to 7, and we put Minish Cap on the list, I'll play politics with you like that.
So we're saying Minish Cap over WarioWare Twisted. Fine. That's fine with me. I'm happy for that. I know the Pac-Man collection is a niche game. So that's fine. And then, so these are now swapped around.
Feels fucked up to not have the Zelda representation on the list, you know?
yeah.
There weren't that many Zelda games, though. It was like this one and
then
like the
Four Swords
NES
that-
Classic remix.
Well, and
things,
there was the Four Swords
and
that
4
also
Swords
had...
that you needed a Game Boy, yeah.
Well,
I
but that
guess.
also had Link to the Past on it, which was that was
Okay.
a cool one. All right, so honorable mentions then?
You
Well,
only got
yeah,
one,
so
right?
my honorable mentions were Minish Cap, Advance Wars, and I also had Mario Party E on there because it's a game I really, really, really want to play, and I'm visiting Ray this year.
I have an e-reader. I do have one.
He has a copy of Mario Party E, so I'm going to try and convince him to do a video with me on Mario Party E because I
You
really,
should.
really want to play that game.
That'd be great.
That's awesome.
All right, Chewy, how about yours?
I mean, I thought we could only pick one. One
You can as many
thing.
as you want.
And then I had a bunch of shout outs. My honorable mention, the one that didn't quite make it, Super Bust-A-Move. I think it's called Super Puzzle Bobble over in EU. I spent way too much time with these little dino dragon.
I also played a
Bubble
lot of that game.
blowers.
I know, yeah. Yeah, that is a fun game. I've never played it on the GBA, but I think I played it on PlayStation.
GBA one was fun. There were tons and tons of levels. It was basically endless for me. That was a big road trip game for me. Yeah, and then the other things I had, of course, Super Mario Advance 2, which was Super Mario World, right? Yoshi's Island as well. But I was like, you know what? Those aren't technically GBA exclusive ones. So I was like, you know what? We'll skip them. The other WarioWare, Minish Cap, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. And then shout-outs, these shout-outs are things that like aren't actually GBA games, and they're ones that 3 of them are games that are GBA games that I didn't own, and then the others are just like not actually GBA games. You just played them on a GBA. Banjo-Kazooie, Grunty's Revenge, and Banjo's Pilot. Those are the rare games that came to GBA post acquisition of Microsoft,
Yeah.
and they still just made some Banjo games for Nintendo for a little bit.
But weirdly, they made like Microsoft was still publishing games like Zoo Tycoon on the DS and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they were still just putting games out on Nintendo consoles. It was really weird.
Yeah, and I mean they're still putting like the Cupheads and all those on
Ori,
Nintendo
yeah.
consoles. So I mean, just keep it up, Microsoft. Keep it coming. Bring back Viva Pinata.
Let's do
Put
it
on Nintendo. So I didn't actually own those. I wish I did. Maybe one day I'll go out and try to find them. This I just stumbled upon just like looking through and making my list. I've talked about Lego Racer on N64 before. Apparently there was a Lego Racer 2 for the GBA, and it seems like it had a lot of the stuff that I liked about the first one. So I was like, cool, that's going to be on my shoutouts. The last three things we kind of mentioned earlier, but just all the connectivity between GBA and GameCube. There's a little Animal Crossing game. You could only get a special island on your Animal Crossing if you connected your GBA. And then Four Swords Adventures and Crystal Chronicles. I played those so much, and I'm one of those few people who got to play like 4 players. Everybody had a Game
Hell
Boy
yeah.
Advance and everything, and that was the cool experience.
I bought
Those are ones I really hope come to the Switch Online, so I can actually experience them with people I'd want to play with.
Crystal
and would wanna
Chronicles
play
is
with
there.
me.
Yeah, that game's not good though. I bought more than one of those GBA plugins so I could get somebody to play Minish Cap, or not Minish Cap, Four Swords with me. So I'm right
Four
there with you,
Swords
buddy.
is so fun, so fun.
So for my honorable mentions, there are a couple games that are some of my favorite games that didn't make the list for similar reasons. Like I didn't put Super Mario Advance 2 or 3, which is Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, for the same reason that Chewy didn't. I didn't put Pokemon Leaf Green because I didn't want to have 2 Pokemon games on a list of 5. So I chose Emerald. So aside from those, a couple other games I wanted to shout out were same thing actually. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. That was a great port. But again, I went with Minish Cap. So then outside of those, I had Monster Rancher Advance and Monster Rancher Advance 2. Huge Monster Rancher fan. They had great handheld entries on the GBA. We have Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Now?
Sorry?
Is the new one out now? I know they're doing a new Monster Rancher, right?
They did the port of 1, and it did come out. It came out in like December. I haven't gotten around to it yet, though, because it's been busy. One of these days, though. So then, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. That was the second game in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. It was like it's an in-between between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And I was a huge Kingdom Hearts fan and was dying for 2 to come out. So Chain of Memories was one that I got into a lot. It's weird because it's a deck building game, but it's also an action RPG. And that was something like, I remember when it came out, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this, but I got very, very into it and had a great time with it. I think that game holds up really well. And
I need you to play Bat and Katos.
I'll try it.
Yeah,
I know you said you wanted it to
builder.
come back this year, right? So
Yeah, it won't, but I want it.
But yeah, that was a game I spent a lot of time with, and you can get it in the Kingdom Hearts collections now. They actually did a 3D remake of it, so that's available for you now. But I think the GBA version's very good. That pixel art, very nice. I also had Sonic Advance. We talked a little bit about that one earlier. That's actually one of my favorite 2D Sonic games. I think the Sonic Advance trilogy is really good. And there was the Chow Garden stuff that was a lot of fun.
Were they not just like they weren't the original games?
No, they were their own games. They had like
okay.
original characters. Like
never had
Cream the Rabbit was an original character in those games. And oh my god, I forgot a game I love. Oh my god. It's the Sonic. It's the one. Is it Battle? Hold on.
While you're looking that up, it's reminded me and prompted me to remember Rayman Advance. I loved that game as well.
Oh yeah.
Sonic Battle is another game that this one was really, really fucking close. This one would have been close to the top 5. I loved Sonic Battle. The whole premise of it was that like you got this robot from Dr. Robotnik, and you played as all the different Sonic characters and would like teach him all of your different fighting moves, and then he could eventually like combine everybody's moveset to have his own fighting style, and like it was just so cool. It was such a fun, weird game. But I loved Sonic Battle. And then I also wanted to shout out, this will be my last one, Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town. I think that's probably my favorite Harvest Moon game.
Was that the one with the light sensor, or was that the one on the Game Boy Color? Because there was one that had a light sensor and it could detect if it was day or night, and it was really cool.
I don't remember.
All of those are on the eShops. The 3DS has, I think, all the Game Boy Color ones, and then the Wii U has the GBA ones.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that game rules. That was like one of my favorite life sims back in the day. Like, you know, when I picked up Stardew Valley, it very much reminds me of that game. I think that game was like a big influence on that one. It was the first game of its kind that I had ever experienced. I had played Animal Crossing before that, but I'd never done like the farm simulation thing. That was how I got into Harvest Moon. I put a lot of time.
Yeah, my
into
brother
that game.
connected more with Harvest Moon than Animal Crossing, so he was always like getting pretty much at all of them that came out. So it was cool.
There you go. All right, so our final list to take it through it one more time for you folks is number 10, The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. Number 9, Golden Sun. Number 8, Advance Wars. Number 7, Kirby: Nightmare in Dreamland. Number 6, Game & Watch Gallery Advance. Number 5, Bomberman Tournament. Number 4, Metroid Fusion. Number 3, Wario Land 4. Number 2, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. And number 1, Pokemon Emerald version. Fantastic list. Again,
I'm so excited.
Claps around.
I'm so excited for more people to learn about Bomberman Tournament. It's so good.
Bomberman Tournament at number 5 is, I think, the only thing on this list that's wacky. Right? Like if that was like a Mario Advance title, you'd be like, yeah, this is a very conventionally.
I had to ensure
like we were biased
exposure
against
for
Mario
this game.
What's that, Steve?
Do you feel like we were biased against Mario Advance because we did the Mario list and we don't want to pull them out again?
100%. 100%.
Possibly,
If we hadn't just done that, I definitely would have put Mario Advance 2 higher. Super Mario World.
Yeah, I think so too.
That was one of my most played games on the Switch by a lot. So definitely up there. Anyway, great one. Thank you to everybody who wrote in. Thank you for joining us here in another episode of Nintendo Noise. Remember, if you want to connect with us, if you want to check out more of our content, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you can find links to all the places you can get us online. You can find our P.O. Box. You can find a link to our Patreon where you can go and show your support and get all kinds of good perks and goodies, including our Patreon-exclusive podcast, One More Thing. We got a lot of good stuff for you wherever you like getting your content, however you want to show your support, however you want to engage with the community. We got a lot of options for you, and they're all great. I'll say, right? Fantastic offerings. So go check them out. Come join us. Come hang out with us. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nintendo Noise, and we will catch you